Welcome everyone to 2023 Pivot Week. We are excited that you guys are spending your Monday morning / afternoon with us. This is our third year of Pivot Week. Pivot Week began post-COVID to kind of get people to adapt to the business, health, and community changes. So this week, if you'll stay with us through Thursday, we're going to have virtual keynotes from experts in people, community, and finance fields. Part one, which is today, focusing on people and leadership. Part two, which is tomorrow, focuses on money and financing, forging a new path filled with optimism. And part three focuses on community by mastering balance and establishing a new future for yourself and for your business. And then on Thursday is going to be a real treat. We have the Attack on Affirmative Action panel discussion by our industry leaders. So to get started with today, we have Sarah Elaziz, founder of Sculptery. So a little bit about Sarah. She is the beautypreneur who revolutionized lymphatic drainage. Sarah is a seasoned beauty entrepreneur with over 19 years of experience in the luxury beauty industry. Throughout her career, Sarah has successfully grown and managed luxury beauty lines such as Revive Skincare, Laura Mercier, one of my favorites, and Chanel, as well as executed regional retail expansion for Bluemercury, Nordstrom, Barney's New York, and Saks Fifth Avenue. After years of working in the industry, Sarah noticed a gap in the market for lymphatic drainage. She saw the importance of lymphatic drainage in overall wellness and decided to create beauty products and protocols that focused on this crucial component. Her mission was to deliver exceptional results in a short amount of time while detoxifying the body from the inside out. Sarah's passion for lymphatic drainage led her to launch Sculptery in 2017. She underwent extensive personal research and training, earning 15 plus certifications in lymphatic drainage from the best in the world. She knew that convincing the market would be a challenge, but was determined to make it happen. Starting out with a single room in a clinic in Beverly Hills, she steadily built her business. Her clients were entrepreneurs, influencers, and celebrities like Jordan Sparks, Black China, and Taylor Swift. Word of mouth quickly spread, and her business began to boom. Thanks to her longtime celebrity clients singing her praises on social media, her brand began to expand, releasing take-home kits for quick at-home touch-ups and offering masterclasses throughout the U.S. Today, Sculptery is an undisputed must-visit for all and everyone, and for good reason. Her expertise in lymphatic drainage and her commitment to delivering exceptional results have made her the go-to expert in the field. Wow, I feel like I am going to be a client. So let's get started, Sarah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Moni, for the introduction. Thank you, Al, for having me, and everyone for having me this week on Pivot Week. It's definitely such an honor. I'm super excited to share my journey with you guys on how, as an entrepreneur, I really started to take more time for self-care for myself. Being in the beauty industry, I'm always catering to everyone else's beauty needs and their personal health needs. And sometimes it's very easy to put yourself on the back burner. So welcome to a whole episode of lymphatic drainage, self-care, and why you need it. Let's go ahead and dive into it. We'll definitely have some questions and answers at the end for you guys to pick my brain on anything that you heard throughout the presentation. A little bit of my background, which Moni kind of gave, has always been in the retail beauty luxury side of the industry. And I went through my own personal challenges where I gained over 100 pounds. So let's go to the next slide, please, so that we can dive into that. Before I show you guys my 100-pound gain from what I am now, I definitely want to discuss why, as entrepreneurs, we need self-care. We're so busy all the time, you guys. We are nonstop, left and right, pulled in multiple directions. As an entrepreneur, you know that we don't really necessarily serve one role. We're doing everything. So many challenges and stresses that come up that actually can really weigh down on our mental state, on our energy levels, on our sleep levels, and our overall performance. So sometimes we think about always how we can get things done in a faster pace, if you will, or get to our goals as quickly as possible. And in that mindset and in that frame that we're in, we neglect ourselves, and that can lead to serious health issues and can actually lead to us underperforming as entrepreneurs. So as you see, we have our stresses and our challenges, which we talked about, that can definitely leave a very negative impact on us. The mental, emotional, and physical aspects that can happen to us from not doing any self-care. And self-care doesn't necessarily just mean beauty treatment. So I want us to kind of open our mindset to understanding my definition of self-care. Self-care can be going out and taking a hike. Self-care can be going to canoe in the river. It can be going to the gym. It could be reading a book. It could be taking a bath, something as simple as that. Once we get into a role of self-care treatments or self-care habits, if you will, we start to see less stress levels. We start to see better physical performance, better mental clarity, and overall, we're able to perform better. So I don't want you guys to wait until you actually get burned out like I did or gain 100 pounds to realize how important self-care is. There's so many different self-care, non-invasive treatments that are out on the market that literally I tried up and down to lose the weight. And some of them worked, but they weren't consistent or they were very temporary. So we'll talk about those. However, the shift for me was really realizing that it wasn't just about the treatments that I was getting, but more so understanding how my body was working. Next slide, please. So here I am, 100 pounds heavier, actually more than 100 pounds heavier. I literally was working full-time, taking 22 units a semester in college. I was working for Nordstrom's at the time as a department manager, and I had about 82 employees, literally no life aside from school full-time and work full-time. So all my physical exercise pretty much stopped. When I did eat, because I wasn't eating a lot, but when I did eat, I just wasn't eating the best things because I didn't have the best options around me, being in such a busy retail environment. Whatever quick fast food restaurant was available in the mall is what I ate and what I had available to me. So going through all of the different treatments that I went through different body wraps. I went through going to the gym, working out. I mean, even eating no meats and going completely vegan, and I still wasn't losing the weight. I was losing some weight, but it was mostly temporary, and it was mostly fluid retention and water weight. There's a big difference between losing fat cells and losing water weight. Water weight, when you lose it, is very temporary. Fat cells is when you start to shrink them, that's when it starts to become permanent. And I was looking for more of a permanent solution. So I started to realize that I wasn't doing the correct treatments, or that I wasn't understanding my body correctly. I went to a clinic and I spoke with this herbalist, and she was telling me about the lymphatic system and how the minute she looked at me, she was like, your lymphatic system is completely clogged. I didn't know anything about what a lymphatic system was at the time because my side of beauty was more so into skincare and actual color products. It wasn't into the health and wellness side at the time when I was this weight. At this weight, I was actually 314 pounds. It's kind of scary to realize that I let myself get to this extreme. More so the health reasons behind it. I had no energy. I was just really depressed. I didn't want to be around people aside from going to work and going to school. I didn't want to socialize as much because I was uncomfortable in my own skin. Going to go shopping was one of the worst experiences for me because I always had to go to the plus side section. So I was really happy when I met this herbalist because she really helped me understand how my body was working. And once I understood lymphatic system, that's when the weight started to drop because I shifted my self-care treatments, and I shifted the way that I was working out, and I shifted the way that I was eating, and I shifted the way I was even taking a shower. So we'll talk about that. Next slide. So this is a transformation, and it took me about 94 days to be exact to do this transformation. Once I figured it out and I started to see the weight drop within the first week, I just went full force with it. A lot of people ask me, like, did I go vegan right away? And right now I'm actually not vegan. I'm a choositarian is what I like to call it. Sometimes I'll go vegan for like a month or so, and sometimes I'll just have a little bit of everything. But when I first started my transformation and I started to understand what the lymphatic system was doing for my body and understanding that it really was my garbage can, if you will, for my body, I started to stimulate it the right way. And initially, I started to eat everything that I would normally eat, but just in smaller portions. So portion control had a big part to do with my transformation. Then eventually I started to cut out certain foods. So instead of me going to get, a cheeseburger, I would try to get a veggie burger. Little simple transitions. I had been on diets for the majority of my life, and I knew myself that I wouldn't be able to go full force in terms of my eating habits because I love food. But I wanted to at least give my mental, if you will, what I'm used to when it comes to food, because that weaning off of the things that we're used to eating can be very, very challenging. But at the same time, make certain daily habits for myself during this transition to really help me shift quicker into the more vegan world, if you will. So I started juicing a lot every single morning. I would have a celery juice. I would do all my sea moss and my herbs and my black seed oil. And I would drink a lot of water. Water became my best friend. I cut out all the Sprites, I cut out all the juices, and water and I became best of friends. Then the most important thing that really helped me was the correct lymphatic treatments. So I'm sure you guys are all aware of the new body sculpting methods that are out there and how lymphatic drainage in general has become such a craze over the past 3 to 5 years. But there's so many treatments when it comes to lymphatic drainage that are designed to just give you temporary results. And what I mean by that is they target just the fluid retention and the water weight that your body holds onto. Those types of treatments are usually manual treatments that are done by hand versus ones that are done with tools or certain non-invasive machines that will help actually shrink the fat cell over time so that people get closer to their goals and get more permanent results versus a temporary result. So example, if you go get a normal manual lymphatic massage treatment, that is going to be done by hand, and the results are going to be great. Instant gratification. You're going to be able to see such a difference right away. However, if you leave and you go and eat something salty, well, all that fluid retention that was just being expelled through your lymphatic system is now going to swell you back up. So it's very important, and this is something that really helped me during my journey, was to understand the difference so that I wouldn't be disappointed when I went to go get a treatment. And I did just that. I started to explore this world. I started to go get treatments from anyone that was offering any type of lymphatic treatment. There's so many different versions, from the Brazilian to the Thai to the Chinese to the Colombian to the Egyptian. There's many, many different versions of lymphatic. And what I wanted to do was find a way to give myself the best results in the shortest amount of time. And I did that by actually learning all these different techniques and creating my own version of it and administering these versions at home with my herbs and my ices that I create, which leads me to the at-home detox is super important. These treatments, anywhere that you go, they're designed to be lifestyle treatments, which means they're designed to be done consistently, a part of your lifestyle, a part of your routine. They're not one-hit wonder transformations. And I think a lot of people are confused about that, because I was too when I first started. There's a lot of advertisement, come in and do this body wrap with, the saran wrap and this gel, and you're going to instantly lose 3 inches off your waist in the first session. I fell for it. I went and did all these things. And it was very frustrating for me to spend all this money and not get the results that I was looking for. So I figured out that I needed to just create it myself. Being in the beauty world and just being in love with this industry, I knew there was a better way. And that's exactly what I started to work on. The biggest second thing out of this list that really helped me, aside from the eating habits, the lymphatic drainage, were cold therapy treatments. So I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar or have heard of the term cryotherapy or the cold chambers or ice baths. Ice beauty has been around for centuries, and originally started as a health treatment, and we turned it into this whole beauty craze because we saw the effects of what it does to the fat cell and what it does to the skin. It instantly will deflate a fat cell and it will help tighten the skin. And that's great results when people are trying to lose weight. You don't want to lose the fat cells and then have loose skin, which is something that I ended up with after losing so much weight so quickly. So cold therapies and the lymphatic drainage, as well with, of course, your eating habits. You are what you eat. And a little bit of exercise. My exercise was hiking, to be honest with you guys. I didn't go full force in the gym. I didn't do, you know, a crazy boot camp or any workouts at home. I really just stretched more than anything, and I walked. The hiking, the walking was the best thing for me because you're getting a full-on body workout. Let's go on to the next slide, please, so we can talk a little bit more about how the lymphatic system works. So your lymphatic system is pretty much your body's superhero squad. I like to call it your personal little bodyguards. Anything that comes into your body, your lymphatic system is responsible for processing it and either removing the negative toxins that are in it or and spreading out the positive energy that comes from it. But if your lymphatic system is not properly activated, which most Americans are not, we end up having diseases, blood pressure, diabetes, heart problems. I mean, your lymphatic system is really, really responsible for our overall health, and we have to take care of it. This was something that I learned the hard way, obviously, from gaining the weight and being borderline diabetic. I mean, when I went to this herbalist, she told me, and I was about 25 at the time, she told me that I had a metabolism of a 46-year-old woman who had diabetes and heart problems, and that if I didn't get it under control, that was the road that I was headed to. And I believed her because I actually come from a family of heart problems, blood pressure, diabetes. So for me, it was a double scare because I already knew that this could be a potential thing that I could have one day in my life genetically. But the fact that I wasn't taking care of my body wasn't helping me avoid getting to that area much faster. So once I understood how my lymphatic system worked, which your lymphatic system is connected to every single part of your body from head to toe. And once I understood that I needed to properly stimulate it, whether it was through exercising, proper eating, certain foods, lymphatic drainage treatments, that's when the pivot really happened for me and the weight started to fall off, literally fall off. I mean, in a month, I lost 32 pounds and it was crazy. I couldn't believe it myself, but I knew it was working. I had the most energy that I've ever had in my entire life. And everyone around me was amazed. They're like, what are you doing? And I was sharing it with people. And then before you knew it, I was like, you know what? I need to share this with the world if I can. So that's when I started to develop Sculptery and really work on my own protocol for how I wanted my treatments to be. Because as an entrepreneur, self-care is important and it's great to sit down and get a massage, but I also don't have 2 hours to sit there for self-care every other day. So with that being said, I really wanted to develop a protocol that would give people the best results, not just aesthetically, because my treatments are they're a detox treatment. That's how they originally started. But the icing on the cake is the sculpting aspect, where you are going to get chiseled. We're going to shrink some fat cells. We're going to get you tight and toned, and your body's detoxing and getting rid of everything horrible at the same time. So why not, right? Next slide, please. So just to remind you guys, I think that it's really important that we stress these factors, especially going into the well, we're already in it, but the last couple months of the year, which for most of us, any retailers, holiday season is crazy, retail or not. And it's also going to start to get cold, and colds are starting to go around. And I think it's really important to understand that if our lymphatic system is properly stimulated, we're going to boost our immune function, which we absolutely need. No entrepreneur ever wants to be sick. It's like being stuck in a cage for a couple days. Okay. So let's make sure that our immune system is completely up. It's going to increase our energy and productivity, which we always are looking for more energy and productivity because we're able to manage, or not manage, I would say get more done in the certain amount of hours that we have a day if we do have more energy. We want to make sure we're also reducing our stress and anxiety. So as entrepreneurs, that's one of our biggest things that we have to face every single day. How can we reduce our stress and our anxiety of our business or our personal life? How do we do that? And I think it's important that we understand if you stimulate your lymphatic system properly, your brain is not going to be fogged up. You're going to have more mental clarity, and that ultimately is going to allow you to reduce stress and anxiety. Your blood flow is going to be increased. Your metabolism is going to be increased. Better oxygen levels are going to be stimulating through your body. So it all really stems from your lymphatic system. And the self-care, if you do it, you're automatically going to be able to get better at the work-life balance, which some of us say we're so good at it, but we're not. Let's go back to the slide before that. Perfect. Next slide, please. There you go. So there's a bunch of successful entrepreneurs that actually spend a lot of money every single year on self-care. And it's not just the beauty treatments. Oprah practices meditation and mindfulness. There's a couple other celebrities that I can't mention, but they're very, very big on lymphatic drainage because of the detox that it does to your body. Not just that, but any type of self-care is very, very important. And everyone, I feel like overall in the past 2-3 years, I think from when we all experienced COVID, self-care has started to become a thing, whether you're doing a facial at home once a week that you've never done before, or going to get your nails done, or going to the barber shop. All these things have become more intriguing, if you will, because people were stressed out during COVID and they just needed a break. I think that it's important that we continue these types of self-care rituals for ourselves and habits, not just when we're going through a stressful time, because that will help us ultimately avoid the extra stress over time. And, you know, I just feel overall that investing in yourself will ultimately make you a better entrepreneur and make you more successful. And, you know, taking time for you is important. So don't feel bad for it. Next slide. So again, making self-care fun and sustainable. That was something that was really important to me as an entrepreneur. I didn't want to go into these places that when I started Sculptery, I didn't want people to come into my place to feel like how I did leaving certain places. I didn't want them to feel overwhelmed. I didn't want them to feel like the treatments weren't going to work unless they came back every single day. So I think it's important that when you do pick whatever you're going to do for your self-care routine, that you pick something that you can be consistent at, pick something that's going to be fun and relaxing for you, something that you can easily make a habit, and something that maybe you can do with someone else. So maybe if you have a partner or have a best friend or someone that is interested and like-minded like you in certain areas, pick some different things that you guys can do together and make it a habit. It's so much easier to go through a transformation journey like I did when you have someone who wants to do it with you. I had a friend who started it halfway with me and then she just didn't want to complete it, and I wasn't going to let anyone stop me. So that's something you have to be kind of careful with when you do bring a buddy on board, is making sure that you're strong enough mentally to keep going if they decide to abandon ship. But nonetheless, it's always more fun if you have someone with you going to get treatments together, or a couple treatments at home in spa, or going to go to the bookstore and pick a book that you guys want to read together for the next 30 days. All those things release endorphins in the brain and make us happier, make us less stressed out, make our mental clarity and focus so much more better, and ultimately make us more successful. So try to do that and find someone who can tag along with you. If not, go for it yourself. Next slide, please. So here are some case studies that I wanted to share with you guys. I'll go through each person, but all of these treatments are after one session of Sculptery treatments. And I have a combination of manual treatments, wood and ice treatments, as well as non-invasive machines. And based on the client's needs, results, and how their lymphatic system is responding to the treatments, I may alter the treatments throughout, or alter the different methods that I use throughout the treatment. But for the most part, all of these clients that you're going to see here for the case studies are all after just one session of Sculptery. The first client is by far one of my most amazing wows. This client is 48 years old. She is had zero exercise, zero physical activity, does not eat good at all, has a very unhealthy diet. And I wanted to have her come in and administer a treatment on her because I knew that the majority of what I was feeling and seeing on her, because my hands have become like little Men in Black gadgets, so have my eyes. But I wanted to administer this treatment on her because I knew that she was holding so much fluid. The fluid retention in her body was crazy. I literally had every 15 to 20 minutes, she would have to get up and use the restroom because her body needed to release the fluid that I was shifting to her lymph nodes, which again are the passageways to release any of these toxins through your body. So this session with her, normally my sessions take 45 minutes. All these other photos you see are after 45 minutes of a Sculptery treatment, but with her, it took 2 hours. I honestly could not stop because every single time I started to activate her lymph nodes, everything would start moving. It literally felt like an ocean. Every time I would touch a part of her body and move it to her lymph nodes, I can feel the fluid literally moving, and it just wanted to be released. Her body wanted this. There were certain parts of the treatment that when I would stimulate her lymph nodes under her armpit, because those are one of the largest lymph nodes that we have, they would turn into golf balls, and I would have to press and really stimulate them for a good 10-15 minutes for them to shrink and expel, and then she'd be like, I need to use the restroom. So every person that you see here is going to have different results, but with her, before I could even get to sculpting phases with her, I needed to remove all the fluid, and we needed her to be on a serious detox. Again, this was when after one treatment, and she came in for about another 3 to 4 more sessions, and then didn't come back. So again, these are lifestyle treatments. It's really important, and I feel like for me, I take really so much pride in educating my clients and my students that these are lifestyle treatments, and these are treatments that have to be done consistently, but you also have to put in your work. You cannot come in and get a treatment and then go drink a bottle of alcohol or wine at night. You're going to swell up 2 times more than you were when you first came in for the treatment. You can't get these treatments and show up for 1 week and then don't show up for 4. It's just not going to work. Just like any other detox or any other, it's detox that you would do for your body. You have to be consistent when you first start in order to see the results and get some type of progress. So moving on, the next person on the right, this woman is actually 62 years old. She takes great care of herself. She does yoga every single day. She eats really well. And for her, clearly she did not have as much fluid retention, but with her, we did more sculpting so that you can see we targeted more of the fat cells and really helping shrink the fat cells and tightening the skin. And after one treatment, she was really happy because she could see her abs again. This is a regular client of mine. I see her twice a week. When we first started her sessions, we did twice a week for a month, and then once a week for the next month, and then twice a month is her consistent regimen that we do now. So again, lifestyle treatments. The next one that you see over there on the bottom, this client had a lot of loose skin. So this client really, we see a lot of fat as well, but she really had a lot of loose skin, and I wanted to focus on creating that lift for this client. So this was after one session as well, 45 minutes. This is the side view, and then the picture next to it is the front view. So you can see there was a lot of inflammation going on, a lot of fluid retention as well that we had to move out, but a lot of tightening of the skin. Next slide, please. And yes, fellows, it does work for men. And in fact, men get better results. It's so not fair, okay? You guys have less white and brown fat cells than women do. So you're able to lose weight faster than us. You're able to snatch up faster than us. It's just not fair. But this client was after 2 sessions in 1 week. This guy had a big photo shoot coming up in Hawaii or something that he had to fly out for and wanted to get extra chiseled. He already works out, as you can see in the top picture, abs are already there, works out regularly, eats clean, but really, really wanted that chisel effect. So I saw him 2 times in 1 week with a day split apart in between. He already does his workouts and eats well, and it literally worked like magic on him. Next slide next picture on the bottom, excuse me. is the client that we had in the first picture above. This is her face sculpting treatment. So I actually did lymphatic drainage on her face as well, because we have a lot of lymph nodes in our face. So anytime you guys start to feel like you're like holding a lot of fluid in here, or like, oh, did I just gain some weight out of nowhere? Most likely it's just some fluid that needs to be moved. So you can hit your pressure points on the side and right underneath your chin and just kind of shift everything outwards and down your neck. Monty's taking notes. To really help move the fluid and kind of awaken the face. The picture on the right, my dad literally lost his mind. My dad's a retired plastic surgeon, so I've been able to learn a lot from him in terms of how the skin works, how fat cells works, how the lymphatic system work, and I think that's what really got me more intrigued into this side of the beauty industry. But when I showed him this picture, he's like, "What did you do? You need to call her back and tell her she owes you money for a facelift. This doesn't make any sense." He's like, "This is crazy." But this is one of the examples of how my eyes products that I use, that I hand create. I hand make everything, so I know exactly what goes into it. Being in the beauty world, I'm such a great expert with reading ingredients on the back of a product and kind of knowing how they work. So I've been able to hand formulate all my products that I use on my clients and on myself that help me. And the product really helps tighten the skin. We focus on tightening the skin with cold therapy. Next slide, please. So, friendly reminder, you guys, just make some time for you, make your me time. Try to do it at least once a week to start off, and then build it into a daily habit, just like you would brushing your teeth. It could be as simple as literally dry brushing when you're in the shower, or turning on the shower for the last 2 minutes to be really cold. That is a form of self-care, and you'd be surprised how many serotonins are released after that and how great and amazing you're going to feel. At the end of the day, you guys, we're our own CEOs of our own well-being. So make time for yourself, and thank you guys so much for making time for me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sarah. That was amazing. I wish we had more time to do an example. I would certainly be your guinea pig.
I love it.
For people who want to know more about your company and your services, is there a website they can go to? You want to shout out an email address?
Yeah, I can definitely put it in the chat, sculptery.com. I'll put my email address in here for you guys as well. And our Instagram is our best social media platform that we've been using. And it's just Sculptery, SCULPTERY. But I'll also drop it in the chat.
Wonderful. We appreciate it. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful day.
All right. What a great presentation by Sarah. So moving on with our lineup to talk about self-care and people, we have Wiley Brazier, Executive Director of We Grow People. Wiley is a dynamic force uniting technology, training, and entrepreneurship. With a background rooted in education, his sound instructional practice ensures that his sessions are enjoyed and not just endured. His passion for ed tech has been a benefit to small business owners and CEOs, as he had helped them leverage technology to increase their influence, income, and impact. As an entrepreneur, Wiley founded We Grow People, a Google and Microsoft partner seamlessly blended technology with mentorship to ignite transformative change. His unique fusion of tech and education has yielded impressive results for individuals and enterprises alike. Wiley's trailblazing spirit has earned him prestigious honors, including being named a 23-24 Top 100 Mind Behind What's Now, What's Next by EdTech Digest, a Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Alumni, and the U.S. Presidential Award for Academic Excellence. Today, Wiley stands at the forefront of technology-driven education and entrepreneurship, pushing boundaries while inspiring others to harness the potential of this thrilling intersection. Wiley, I'll let you take it away.
All right. Well, good morning. Good morning. I will, first off, let me say that I am condensing a presentation down into this time. So if you have time, we'll try to leave time for questions, but let's go ahead and jump right into it. Next slide. We're going to talk about reaching customers online with Google. She gave a little bit about myself, so let's go ahead and just hop right into the next slide. So when you think about how you typically find things and how customers typically find things that they want and need online, what do they normally do? They Google it, of course, right? And so I'll bet that most, if not everyone, starts online comparing prices, reading reviews, and doing other research. And it's even more so now than even prior to the COVID era. And because previously people might have gone directly out to the brick and mortar, but now they're always starting online. Next slide. So I want to just talk about a little bit of how Google search works. Next slide. I want you to think about, imagine yourself having a library with billions of books that's constantly growing, but there's no card catalog to help you find anything. And you're not just searching for a book, you need specific information that's inside of the book's pages. That's kind of like the web. And so when a person searches on Google, they might start off typing a word or a phrase describing what they want to find on the web. And that is what we call a search query, okay? Next slide. And so Google basically helps people find that information by sorting through all of those billions of web pages and showing people where to find the answers they're looking for. All right. Now, this illustration represents an example of a Google search results page. It's important to note that the content and layout of this page may be different depending on the search, and the layout might look a little bit different if you're searching on a mobile device too. So today we're going to just focus on 3 typical ways that your business can appear in results: in organic results, with a business profile, and then also by advertising. Next slide. And so let's start with reaching customers with search engine optimization. Next slide. So this is the first way that a business might show up or appear in what we call the organic or natural results down the center of the results page. Okay, it's shown right here. And Google builds these pages for every single search to deliver the most relevant results for the particular searcher. All right. For example, someone might be looking for for people searching from Canada or Tennessee or Mississippi or Louisiana. But you can see on this page how the website for Trade Street Jam can appear in Google's organic results. How did Google decide what websites to show and in what order? Well, organic results are different than paid search advertising. How high your site ranks in organic results is truly a matter of your site being the most useful answer in the query that's entered by the searcher. Next slide. Now, I could do a whole presentation specifically on SEO, but I'm just going to do a quick little overview in the essence of time. So SEO refers to the techniques that improve your website rank in Google search results and attract higher quantity and quality website visits to grow your online presence. SEO is really important when it comes to managing a website for your product, service, or brand. And when consumers use search engines, they are typically looking for a specific product, a service, or a solution. All right. And so ranking in these search results for particular keywords, topics, and phrases can help you connect with your ideal customer. Next slide. Now, people who are just getting started with SEO tend to have a tendency to think that it's very complicated, and it can be, but you don't have to have a background in tech in order to make sure that you're ranking up in SEO, because there are plenty of non-technical things that you can do to help your pages show up in result. All right. And these are 3 of the things. Number 1, the most important thing is regularly publish relevant and original content. All right. Number 2 is when you're writing the content, include keywords potential customers will use to find your pages. You also want to organize your website logically into clearly labeled areas that leads and visitors can easily find what they're looking for. And then every web page includes, with being organized, every web page should include a title and a description. Many content management systems like WordPress or Wix or GHL, all of these have this option to enter this text. All right. All right, next slide. Now, there's also something called Google Trends. I'm not sure if any of you have heard of it. Put a 1 in the chat if you have used or either heard of or used Google Trends, and put a 0 if you have not. All right. Put a 1 in the chat if you have heard of Google Trends, put a 0 if you have not. All right. So great. It looks like some of you have heard of Google Trends. So this is where you can research content strategies and refine your marketing messages for your website. It shows relative popularity of different kinds of keywords searched on Google over time. So basically, you can use Google Trends in order to decide either what content or what service or solution to provide, but it also gives you the data on a scale of 0 to 100, with 100 representing the peak search volume. And so an example is listed right here. So if you have an example like tea drops, used in Google Trends when researching how people in the US search for bubble tea, they learn that on the West Coast, a lot more people search for the word boba. On the East Coast, more people search for bubble tea. Okay, now that information can be incredibly useful when developing a content strategy for their website and their advertisement. And you have the link that's there, g.co/trends, and it will take you directly to Google Trends. Now, normally we'd have like a working session where we'd actually jump in and do some of these things, but in the essence of time, I'm just going to provide that resource to you. Next slide. Now, the next resource is that you can also go to a tool called Test My Site. And it is an absolutely free tool from Google that allows you to test scores and measure your mobile speed of your website. Basically, what it does is it allows you to see how long it takes your site to load on a phone. All right. And that link is g.co/testmysite. All right. Now, after evaluating your site, the test generates a report with a list of specific suggestions that can help you optimize your site. Now, this is an absolutely great tool. If you have not used it, you need to definitely use it with your site. Put a 1 if you have used the Test My Site tool before to measure your site, and put a 0 if you haven't, but you're going to. All right, put a 1 in there if you have it. If you have used it, put a 0 if you haven't, but you're going to use it. All right, next up, next slide, let's go. Here is another tool called the Google Search Console. All right, now this tool used to be called Google Webmaster Tools, but Search Console is important for search engine optimization because it helps you measure your site's search traffic and performance. It helps you fix issues and improve Google search results. Okay. Now, the Search Console is typically used by SEO specialists or marketers to monitor website traffic, optimize rank in Google search results, and to also make informed decisions about the appearance of your website in the search results. Okay. But the thing about it is, even if you don't have a handle on the technical details for your website, you should be aware of Search Console and what kind of information it offers. Okay, you can access Google Search Console at the link on the screen, which is g.co/search console. Next slide. All right, so I know we're going a little fast, but now that we've discussed the basics of search engine optimization, let's take a step back and let's see if your website appears on the first page of Google results, okay? Now, normally I'd have you to go to google.com and go ahead and search your business, because, and the other thing that you want to do is don't just open up a new tab. When you search your website, I would advise all of you, don't just open up a new tab, open up a new incognito window, okay? And then search your business, because what a new incognito window does is it doesn't remember any of the cookies that are associated already in your computer. So it's more of a true, accurate depiction of where you would appear on the search results, all right? So that's what I call a little goo tip for you, okay? Next slide. All right. The second way that your business can show up is by claiming your free business profile on Google Search and Maps. Next slide. Okay. Now, when we did search in the last section, we were concentrating on organic search. Now, let's talk about what you may see appear on the right side when you search results page. It's highlighted here. It's called a business profile. And hopefully, all of you business owners out there have claimed your free business profile, okay? It is totally free. Go ahead and go to the next slide. This creating a free business profile is totally free. You can go to google.com/business, and it helps local businesses be found and manage their business information on Google Search and Maps. If someone tries to charge you for managing your business profile, for setting it up, then please do not, please don't pay for that, all right? Now, people could charge to help, help manage it, to be able to get more traffic to it and get more of your testimonials and things of that nature to provide support for you there. But just to set it up, do not pay for that. The other thing that you want to do also is you don't want someone else to own or have set it up for you. You want to at least claim it, all right? Because if someone else claims it, then you'll have to go through and try to dispute it with Google and do all of these different things. But anyway, within the dashboard, you can update your address, phone number, website, your hours, plus you can answer reviews and more to help customers find and connect with your business, all right? And a business profile can only be created for businesses that either have a physical location that customers can visit, or that travel to visit customers where they are. Next slide. Now, you can make the most of your business profile by including as much business information as possible, all right? I would definitely tell you to regularly update your business profile with photos of your products, storefront, the interior, whatever offers you have. You can even make sales directly from your free business profile. Next slide. All right, so you can also use it to even engage with people. You can make posts, you can check and respond to reviews, you can even send messages there as well, all right? And Google really encourages business owners to respond to those messages, because that's also additional traffic, which also is networked and connected to your organic search and all of those things as well, all right? And so responding to customers can also even help you tell your business's story and attract more people to your location. Now let's go to the next slide and talk more about some of these next steps, all right? Again, I had a quick little activity, but we are going to keep going right through this one, all right? So next slide. Now, so now that we've discovered, or we've covered SEO and the business profile, we'll talk about the third and final way you can reach customers online, and that is with advertising. Next slide. Advertising on Google is called pay-per-click advertising. Now, some of you may have heard the term PPC, but put a 1 in the chat if you have used pay-per-click advertising, and put a 0 in there if you have not, all right? In other words, so basically your ads can also appear on websites that are part of Google's display network, which includes millions of partner sites. And when you use these pay-per-click ads, they can reach people earlier in the buying cycle, and not just when they're searching for things related to your business, but when they're browsing related content or even watching YouTubes that are associated with it. Now, I'm not sure for those of you who have used it before what your level of success it has been with it, but there's a few different things that you need to take note of. Next slide. Now, when you start advertising, I definitely recommend people start with smart campaigns, okay? It's a campaign type designed for small businesses and new advertisements, new advertisers. So smart campaigns are flexible, okay? They allow you to choose your goal and customize your content, and you can work with all kinds of budgets. And the great thing about it is that there are no contracts or fees to get you started, okay? So that makes it very doable for small businesses, and they get to control when and where their ads are shown according to their own budget, all right? And to get started, all you have to do is go to ads.google.com and begin by signing into your Google Ads account. Next slide. Now, this is a checklist. You may want to take a screenshot or something of it, because this is one of the most important things that you need to follow in your setup. All right. And that is first to decide what your goal is for a particular campaign. All right. Now, you might have multiple goals, but ask yourself, why am I advertising and what do I want to achieve? Okay. You also need to make sure that you add in information about your business so customers can recognize you when they see an ad. You also need to, the third thing is identify where you want a visitor to land on your site after they've clicked your ad. Now, let me say this, you all, that step right there is one of the most important pieces there. That is your CTA, or your call to action. That is where they're going to land, because I've heard people, who've come to us to help support them with their Google ads, and they're like, man, I get this bill, people are clicking on it, but then I don't get any of the information. It's like, okay, well, where are you sending them when they click? Okay, so you need to make sure that there's a specific destination that you're sending them to that's going to then convert them once they click. All right. Now, you also need to write an ad that encourages people to take action. Okay. Choose keywords and themes, locations where you want your ads to appear. All right. Now, just so you know, the keyword theme are words or phrases that help match your ads with Google searches. All right. So we'll talk about that more in just a minute, but I want you to then set your daily budget, and remember, you only pay when someone interacts with your ads. Now, once you've got all of those pieces, you are ready to launch. Next slide. So with smart campaigns, you always start out with a goal. All right. And then first you'll choose one of these three types of goals for your campaign. Either you want to get more calls, you want to get more sales or signups, or you want to get more visits in your physical location. Next slide. So when you're setting up a new smart campaign, you'll have the option to link your business profile, which we went over earlier. And but when you link your business profile and smart campaigns, your ad also shows your business address and link to your business profile or Google Maps driving directions to your actual business. Okay. Otherwise, if you don't have it set up, then no, don't use that info. You'll choose that option. Okay. Then go ahead to the next slide. All right. Then, of course, you'll enter your business name. Next slide. Then you'll enter in your website where you like people to land after they click your ad. Again, this is one of the most important pieces, because depending on how your website is set up, if you don't have either some type of funnel or a guide for them, then when people land on your website, I'm not sure how your website is set up, but a lot of websites are just like, okay, here I am. This is information about what they sell. All right, cool. But what you want to do is make sure that you use this one most strategically as possible. Okay. All right, next slide. So now the system is going to show you where the ads lead to, so you can preview what people see when they, I'm sorry. You want to check so you can preview what they see when they get there. All right. You'll also see what they see on mobile devices as well as desktop and laptop. Because remember, I'll tell you, this little thing right here, this is what people most likely are using to access your ad from or your site from. So it needs to be mobile friendly. And this page here lets you see that. All right. All right. Then next slide. Then the next step is to write your ad. 3 questions here before you think about these 3. Before you write, think about these 3 questions. What do I have to offer? What do I want to accomplish? And who are my customers? Okay. Who are my customers? All right. And next slide. I'm going to try to fast forward here. I've got a couple of slides left, so I'm almost to the end here. All right, so and then once you've written your ad, you're going to choose your keyword themes. All right, I could talk about more about these keyword themes, but I'll just say that these again are your words and phrases that help match your ads with Google searches. All right, so you want to make sure that you pick those wisely. Next slide. Now, your ads appear to people who are physically or regularly in locations you select, as well as people who express interest in these locations. So choose your locations carefully. Next slide. All right, so with smart campaigns, I know for small businesses, we have budgets. So you get to set a maximum monthly budget. So if it's like, okay, let's not spend more than this amount, it's not going to let you go over that amount. All right. You'll be presented with a few different options, but you can also create your own. Next slide. Now, before setting your campaign live, you'll have access to review it. Please make sure that you do this and you make whatever necessary changes that you need to. Next slide. All right. That slide is not supposed to be on there. So, yeah, there we go. So recap and resources. As you can see, I have lots of different options or lots of different resources and information for you. Next slide. So today, I just want to say that we did look at 3 ways that you can appear on Google: in organic results, with the business profile, and with Google Ads. And this illustration, again, shows these 3 distinct areas that you can showcase your brand, products, and services on Google. And then next slide, I want you to think about everything that we covered today. All right. What quick and easy wins can you get when it comes to growing your online presence? And it could be as simple as just checking your website speed or signing up for Google Search Console. But I challenge you to come up with some next small steps you can take towards showing up in a bigger and better way online. Okay. And next slide, if you need any support, this is my contact information, my company's contact information. And I want to thank Monty and Mark and Alvin and everyone there at Southern Region. And I don't know if we have time for questions, but I do see, yes, Mark, you can get that. Yes, I'll definitely send it over to you. Okay. Yes, and Monty, yes, you can. Yes, I can send it over to you, definitely. All right. So I don't know if we have time for questions because I ran right up that time, but.
You did. Yes, it was a great presentation. Lots of great information. And I wish we had more time to hear about this because, as you mentioned, yes, Google is just kind of, everyone uses Google, or rather I use Google. But yes, this is information. Wiley, why don't you drop your information into the chat so that we can scroll back to it. But I do appreciate you and thank you. Okay, up next, as we continue with our day on improving ourselves and people, our next speaker to end our first day is Tonya Ladipo. Tonya is the CEO of the Ladipo Group. Tonya worked for many years in community mental health agencies and soon realized that a one-size-fits-all approach often ignored the needs of Black and African American people. Institutionalized racism, a lack of diversity, and a failure of cultural awareness all conspired to mean that people of color often received poor treatment. Tonya is on a mission to change that. She works with an incredible team of skilled counselors, therapists, and psychologists who have expertise in working with Black and African American communities. What's more, she leads an EDI team that consults with companies and organizations to recognize and address unconscious bias and retain diverse talent by creating a truly welcoming and inclusive workplace for everyone. An engaging speaker on diversity and women's self-care and wellness, Tonya has been the keynote speaker and has been a featured panelist for a number of organizations across the U.S., including Black Enterprise, Philadelphia Works, Villanova University, and Black Women Talk Tech. She has also been featured on NPR Radio, WRD Radio, NBC, Fox, and ABC, and in magazines such as Black Enterprise, Essence, and Madame Noir. Tonya is a graduate of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program and Widener University's Clinical Social Work Master's Degree Program. When not working, Tonya is laughing with her identical twin daughters, taking walks alone, and spending time with her friends. Please welcome Tonya, everyone.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. I appreciate the introduction and really glad to be here with everybody. We can go to the next slide. Let me just tell you a bit about myself. So, I had that great introduction, which I really appreciate, but just so you have a little bit of sense of who I am and how we'll be spending our next 30 minutes together. I am a licensed clinical social worker, so I'm a therapist by training. And like Monty said, I founded my company, the Ladipo Group, in 2004, because I really was working in a lot of community mental health agencies, and I saw people who looked like me get poor treatment, and management didn't want to make any change, or I would see people who didn't look like me get great treatment, and I would say, let's diversify who gets this fantastic treatment. And again, management didn't make change. So I decided to kind of go out on my own and start my own company, which looks very, very different now, almost 20 years later, than I envisioned when I started as a solopreneur. But now I have an incredible team of talented professionals who work with me in various ways, which I'll talk about in a minute. Just some awards that I have received recently that I'm proud of, and also realize I'm the face of receiving the reward. But I have an incredible team behind me. One thing I will say for business owners, you do not, even if you're a solopreneur, you do not do it alone. So a lot of people support me in all my endeavors. Courage and kindness, those are my professional and personal values. So I try to make decisions based on that. How can I be kind, but also how can I have the courage to say what needs to be said? Because sometimes I think that's what really trips us up. And so whether that's in business or in life, those are the values I kind of operate with. And then excellence with ease, which is what we're going to be talking a lot about today. How can I demonstrate excellence with the most ease possible? So we're going to get into that. Let's go to the next slide. Just to tell you a bit about what we do. So we offer mental health therapy services as an EAP provider, so an employee assistance program provider for underrepresented communities within organizations. So what a lot of times we'll do is we'll partner with organizations of various sizes who already have an EAP provider, right, to provide individual therapy, couples therapy, family therapy, group therapy. But a lot of times those providers only might not have a diverse pool of clinicians to support the people in the organization. So we come in and we really provide racially and gender diverse clinicians to help work with people within the organization. And so that's kind of the individual work we do. And then on a larger scale, we work with the larger organization to really look at ways that wellness in the workplace is done through an equity lens, so that everybody has the same opportunities for advancement, for belonging, for growing their career. And so we do a lot of consultation with organizations, and then we also work with HR departments to kind of audit their policies to see what is working really well, and then what might need to be tweaked so that we're really kind of looking at it from a lens of true equity, not just in name, but in practice. We can go to the next slide. It just says a little bit about some of the current and past clients that we've worked with. So different institutions, different sizes. And let's go to the next slide. So today we're going to talk a bit about excellence with ease, more of what I mean for that and how you can apply that for yourself. Also talking about cultivating excellence and then sustaining strategies. Let's go to the next slide. So what I'll ask you to do, and hopefully you've already done this for yourself this morning, but just prepare yourself to be here, to turn off notifications, silence your phone. If you have a recording device or a notebook to take notes, have that nearby so that if an idea pops in your mind that you can take it and keep it and not try to say, what was I thinking at that time, that you can just jot that note down or take a quick note. And really allow yourself to be present and gift yourself the next 30 or so minutes that we have together. So in doing so, let's just take a breath. So feel free to open your eyes and look at the screen, or if you want to keep your eyes closed, you can do that as well. But if you could take a deep breath in through your nose and then slowly exhale through your mouth, and do one more time, a deep breath in through your nose and slowly exhale through your mouth. Because a lot of what we need to do as business owners is make a lot of decisions. We take in a lot of information that we then have to analyze and decide what is the next best course of action. And when there's so much information coming in, slowing down can feel impossible, but you just take a couple of breaths and it resets your body, your brain gets more oxygen, and you're better able to make clearer decisions. So take that kind of going forward beyond today as well. Let's go to the next slide. So excellence with ease. What do we mean when we say excellence with ease? It's really the idea of how we can do phenomenal work and how we can be phenomenal without killing ourselves, right? I'll speak for myself, as a Black woman, and I think of my ancestors, the Black people who came before me, and the ways they survived in this country, in the US, was incredible. What they had to survive and how they survived. And it was about surviving. And the ways that children were raised to be exceptional in order to survive, it's just really powerful to me. And I think, as a parent raising my own children, we're at a different point in time. And so we're at a point in time where I think that we're beyond survival. Some of us are able to move beyond survival. And so that takes a change in how we think. It's a change in our mindset. It's a kind of a rewiring or not possibly a rewiring, but also adding on to the lessons we've been learned, the lessons we've been taught to be twice as good, to get half, the accolades. And really kind of learning, I think, to work differently and build on what was given to us, but also shift it, because working so hard ends up harming us, which also makes it harder for us to lead our organization and make the best decisions. Like, I know when I'm exhausted, I can't make great, clear decisions. And when you're constantly doing and trying to be perfect, which is impossible, it's hard to make the best decision. So let's go to the next slide. And so when I'm talking about excellence, I'm talking about excellence, not perfection. And I think often we conflate the two. Perfection means you never make a mistake, and that is impossible. And it is inhuman. Yet many of us were trained to be perfect because of survival, right? So I'm not criticizing the need for it. But at this point in time, I want us to really think about it differently and not striving for something that we cannot attain, but we can attain excellence. Let's go to the next slide. So when you think about a perfection mindset, it's an increased anxiety, and depression comes when you're always trying to be perfect. You're always anxious because you're always worried about getting it wrong. And then you're depressed when you inevitably are human and make a mistake. You're ruminating on your mistakes and setbacks, right? And you have a kind of fixed mindset, a way of thinking like this is the way to do things. And then when you're a perfectionist, you might notice this in yourself and you might notice in other people, the criticism with trying to attain perfection, the criticism of yourself, but then also of other people when they don't achieve a perfection, which is impossible. And so it's just, I would say it's just not the healthiest way to be. It's a harder way to live, and it's a harder way to do business. And I'll just, pause for a moment and say, before I even started my company, I was definitely raised with a lot of these, you have to be perfect, you have to do it, be twice as good. So I was raised that way. I also was in work environments that encouraged that. At one point, I lost part of some of my hair. I had stress-induced alopecia because I was so stressed out at a job. I was working 10, 12-hour days, 6, 7 days in a row. And like, not worth it, not worth it. So I talk and come from experience, and still very much in process of shifting from perfection to excellence. So let's look at what an excellence mindset actually looks like. Let's go to the next slide, please. So when you're striving for excellence, which really is to be able to hone in on what you're good at. I was talking to someone recently, and they were saying, I wish I hadn't spent so much time trying to change my weaknesses, but spent more time pouring into my strengths. And so realizing what are you really good at and honing it, and increasing your confidence in your capabilities. And so then when you have that increase, you're more confident. But that takes practice, that takes mistakes, that takes learning from mistakes. It's not the end goal of perfection. It's the end goal of how am I going to get this project to be the best it can be at this point in time? How can I learn from the setbacks that are going to happen? You're going to fail. You're going to have mistakes. And so how are you going to learn from it so that you make new mistakes? I'm often telling my team, let's not make the same mistake. We'll make mistakes, but let's make a new mistake. Let's learn from this one and let's do it differently next time. And that's part of a growth mindset, that there's not just one way to do things. There are a lot of ways to get to the end goal. And so your special sauce is going to be your way to get to that end point. And to allow yourself to be a constant learner. I'm at a point in my career where there's a lot that I know, and there's so much more that I don't know. There will always be more that I don't know, and want to know. And there will be other people who will know information I don't know. And so how do you allow yourself to acknowledge what you're great at and what you know, but also what you don't, and how you can learn, right? How you can learn from other people. We can go to the next slide. So what I have found, and I think, what I have found, I think the benefits of striving for excellence as opposed to striving for perfection, which is unattainable, is that you have more joy and satisfaction in your life and in your business, but in your life. And there's an increased sense of accomplishment when you are working on a project and you do it and you're like, wow, I did that. That was great. And instead of picking at all of the things that went wrong, you can look at all the things that went wrong, but you can also see, look at all the great things that happened in this project that I just accomplished. you have greater communication and engagement with the people you're working with, whether they're your vendors, your employees, your colleagues, your peers. When you're striving to like create excellence and you're working with people who like, we really want to get it right, then we're in conversation about like, okay, well, have we thought about doing it this way? What about this idea? You know, there's times where I'm thinking of a time a team member on my team came to me with an idea, and it was a great idea. And I started peppering all these questions to her, and I had to pause, and I said, you know what, actually, let me explain. The reason I'm asking you so many questions is because this is a fantastic idea. And so I want us to like, you know, fill any holes that we might see so that we can make it the best it can be. So I'm not shooting it down. I'm like, we're making this as great as it can be. Like more communication, right? More from me to explain why I'm asking the questions, because we're all striving for excellence. And then a deeper connection to our work. You know, for some people, a job is a job, and that's great. You need money to pay your bills. That's not true for business owners, because if a job was just a job, you would go work for someone else, because it is much easier to work for somebody else. But if you own a business, your work is really important. It's very meaningful to you. And so when you're striving for excellence, you have a deeper connection to the work that you're doing. We can go to the next slide. So a few reflections that I'm going to just ask you to consider. And you know, we don't have a lot of time, but just for you to consider this for yourself, ways that striving for perfection have hurt you, and then consider some ways that striving for excellence has helped you. You know, when I was asked to speak to this section of the Pivot Conference, and thinking about, you know, how to create peace when you're also building a business, which is stressful. The first thing that came to mind was the need for self-reflection and action, and how we toggle between self-reflection, pausing, thinking, and then taking action. And how when we're in sync with that process, that's when the magic starts to happen. But when we're just doing, and we don't pause for reflection, that's when mistakes happen. Let me say that's when avoidable mistakes happen. That's when miscommunication happens. That's when disconnect happens. And not that those things wouldn't happen when we do pause and self-reflect, but we certainly minimize those instances when we give ourselves time to pause. Let's go to the next slide. Cultivating excellence. We can go to the next slide. So I'm talking about excellence, but how do we actually do it, right? And so it's really taking a holistic approach, and practicing cultivating excellence kind of in all areas of your life, not just your business. And so let's go to the next slide. This is why I say cultivating it in all areas of your business, of your life, not just your business, but allowing yourself to be human and make mistakes, and allowing yourself to grow. If you only do that in your business, but it doesn't happen in the rest of your life, that limits how much you can grow. And I personally think that limits how much you can grow your business. Something I, have learned about, after being in business for almost 20 years. And I will say, and this might be true of a lot of you on the call too. I went to graduate school to learn to be a therapist. I did not go to business school because it was not my dream to have a business. I didn't grow up wanting to have a business. And so I've certainly learned a lot along the way. And I think because of my training as a therapist, what I really kind of learned is your business can only go so far as you're willing and able to go yourself. And so as many risks as you are willing to take in your business that mirrors your personal life. I think if anything we've learned from the pandemic, that the separation, there's not a huge separation between work and home. Like, we're the same people, whether I'm at work or whether I'm at home, I'm still Tonya. Now, are there parts of me that are more pronounced in certain places? Absolutely. And are there parts of me that I kind of might keep quiet? Like Saturday night, Tonya doesn't come to work because I have boundaries. And I'm still the same person, right? And so this kind of giving yourself permission to be fully human, I think, is a really important piece that often gets overlooked when we're talking about business, when we focus on the numbers and the metrics, which are very important, and also the human component of it for us as business owners. Let's go to the next slide. So I would love if you would just spend a minute or so, and if you wanted to put it in the chat, think about personally what brings you joy, like what in your world brings you joy, and then who and what drains you, because these are some key factors in how we cultivate excellence: knowing what brings us joy, knowing who and what drains us. And then I think food brings you. I'm with you. I love food. In fact, we have quarterly gatherings at my company just to bring us together. And it really has been, probably into the past 18 months, we were always getting food because I love food. And somebody finally was like, not everybody wants to go out to eat. So I'm with you. I love food and music too. Yes. So knowing who and what brings you joy is part of how you pour into yourself and fill yourself up so that you are then better able to lead your company. And I see family bringing joy. Yes. And your children. One of the things I am seeing when you talk about people, and I'll add pets in there too. One of the things I really appreciate about people and animals who we love and they love us, the way they can demand our attention. And sometimes that's overwhelming and not wanted. And then other times it's exactly what's needed. It's exactly what's needed to focus us on the moment and to remind us that as much as the business is a part of you, it's not all of you, that there's other parts of your world you have to really pour into, which ultimately makes you happier. And then you have the energy to pour that into the business too. So I love seeing these comments. When I'm looking at this time, when you think about who and what drains us, that's also really important. Whether it's inside your business or outside your business, it's really important information if you pay attention to what tasks really drain you within your business, because that might be an indicator it's time to outsource it or delegate it. And then who do you leave interactions with feeling energized? And then who do you leave interactions with feeling drained? You can't always outsource or delegate those interactions. But what you can do, and this is where the self-reflection piece comes in, right? When you take the time to figure that out, what you can do is think, okay, are these interactions that I need to have as frequently as I'm having now? And if the answer is yes, then what time of day might be better for me to interact with this person? So I'm thinking, especially if you're thinking about business, if there's somebody that you have to meet with once a week, that's what is needed for the business to function. And they are really, really draining your energy. So I'll say for me, I have more energy at the beginning of my day. So if it were me, I would put them on my calendar at the end of the day, right? So that they're not draining my energy for the entire day, but I have enough energy to meet with them and then my day is over. So again, just building in time to self-reflect and take action as you need to. And then when it comes time to making change, how ready are you? I think that self-assessment piece is really key, especially when we think about who and what drains me. How ready are you to make a shift in those relationships or in that interaction? And then finally, accountability. Who is going to support you in making a change? So it could be a peer, it could be business related, non-business relationship, but just like, I'm trying to make this change. I just want you to ask me about it in a couple of weeks. Simple as that. But the accountability piece, I think, is really important when we're striving for excellence, so that we're being kind of held to task of what we say we want to do. We can go to the next slide. All right, so a few strategies on how do we actually sustain what I've been talking about. We can go to the next slide. So build a tribe of excellence supporters. So I say that intentionally, not people who strive for perfection, but people who support you in striving for excellence and not perfection, and who understand the difference. They may struggle with it themselves, but are going to be 100% behind you in striving for excellence, because what they will do is when they see you going off track and striving for perfection, they're going to help you course correct. They're going to say, like, of course you didn't get it 100% right. That's not possible, but you got 97%, and that's fantastic. So celebrate the win. You need a tribe of people who are going to support you in that way. Positive self-talk. So I always say, talk to yourself like you would talk to your best friend. So if your best friend makes a mistake, normally I would say most of us would be really understanding and really compassionate, and we would try to make them feel better. Not a great friend is somebody who's also honest. So if they made a mistake, they made a mistake, but just, we wouldn't berate them with their mistake. We would say, like, yeah, you made a mistake. That wasn't great. You could do it differently next time, but you tried. This is what went really well. Stop being unkind to yourself, right? And doing that for yourself, having the positive self-talk, the practicing the ability to be kind to yourself. And then I'll say commit to reflection time weekly. So giving that to yourself once a week. If you can block off an hour, that's great. If that feels like too much time, then 30 minutes. But just once a week, put it on your calendar. What went well this week? What could have been even better? And then I'll say expand your breathing. We don't take enough breaths. When we don't take enough breaths, we don't get enough oxygen. Our brain doesn't function as well as it could. So expand your breathing. And practicing body scans daily. Just do a check-in. How does your head feel? How does your neck feel? Your chest, your arms, your stomach, your pelvis, your legs. That gives us a lot of energy. Oh, my stomach feels really tight. Tightness usually happens because I'm worried about something. I'm worried about that. Okay, let me go do what I need to do to lessen that worry, right? And then we'll go to the next slide, because I know we're close to time. So a couple of resources. Exhaler is an online breathing exercise, like quick, easy way to help you customize breathing to help you practice on a regular basis. Rest is Resistance by Trisha Hershey. She calls herself the Nap Ministry on Instagram. And her whole purpose is, like, especially for oppressed folks, need to rest. And rest is where, like, you regenerate. That's where the magic happens. So big emphasis on rest. And then I host a podcast called Managing Well, and it's really about how to be a great people manager, which I think as business owners is what we need. How to be a great people manager, and how do we, like, incorporate wellness into, like, what we're doing as well. I know we're at time. And so I think what I do want to do, I'll put the podcast information and link into our website into the chat. And I'll just note there's an error, I think, on the way the slides got connected. So if people are interested in the deck, we'll make sure you have the clean version of just the Ladipo Group's deck here. So I thank you so much for your time. And if we have a minute for questions, I'll take it. But Manny, if not, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Tonya. Those are some great resources. Just a simple thread can relieve so much. But yes, thank you for putting your website in the chat. And we will send out your presentation with your permission, of course, if anybody does have any questions for you. do we have any questions? I think with the joy, I think, we in our audience, I see a family and children being kind of a the common joy figures, which is great. But yes, we do appreciate you. Thank you so much, Tonya. And that closes out day one of Pivot Week, where we learned a little bit about self-care and how to take care of ourselves and whatnot. Presentations will be available. Please join us back again, same link, same time, 11 a.m. for tomorrow, where we will discuss money and finance. And with that, everyone, enjoy your lunch hour. Have a good day.